So looking at the front side where the name is, we're going to start doing long division. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to recall just the skill of doing long division. And so the first problem is 126 divided by 7. And sometimes you'll see problems written horizontally like this, and sometimes they're written vertically like this. In either case, we're going to draw it or rewrite it like a long division problem. So the first problem, we've got 7 divided by 126. So to do long division, does 7 go into 1? No. Does 7 go into 12? Yes. How many times? 1 time. And so what you could do is off to the side, if you needed to, you could do 7 times 1 to know what it is. And then we put the 7 down here and we have to subtract. Remember, you have to subtract. So what is 12 minus 7? 5. All right. Does 7 go into 5? No. So we've got to bring down the 6. Does 7 go into 56? Yes. How many times? 8 times 7 is 56, and we have to subtract again, and we end up with 0. What do you need? These notes? They're sideways in the very front. Yep. So my result is that 126 divided by 7 is what? 18. What is that number right there? What does that represent? The remainder. So is 7 a factor of 126? How do you know? Because the remainder is 0. So is it a factor? Yes. Why? Because the remainder is 0. And we did a lot of that last class. For the second problem, let's do that one. We're going to set it up the same way. We've got 4, and we're dividing it into 75. Does 4 go into 7? 4 can go into 7. Does 4 go into 7? Zen is right. How many times? Once. 1 times 4 is 4, and we have to subtract. What is 7 minus 4? 3, and we bring down the 5. What is, how many times does 4 go into 35? 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. So here we've got 35 minus 32. We get 3. Can 4 go into 3? No. Do we have anything else to bring down? No, we're not going to make decimals. So we're going to stop there. And what is my result? 75 divided by 4 is 18. And we're going to write the remainder always, 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 plus whatever the remainder is divided by whatever you were dividing by in the first place. So is 4 a factor of 75? No, and it's because the remainder is not equal to 0. Because whatever it is, it's not 0. Y'all kind of remembering how to do long division? Yeah. It's been a minute, but I think that you've got to refresh that skill because we're going to be doing the same exact thing with a polynomial today. So you've got to remember that skill that we see. How many times can it go into the number? You multiply, put the number down at the bottom, and you subtract, and you do it over and over again, the same skill. Y'all are currently fighting for third place. Huh? No. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're fighting for first. You're right. When I get done doing this, whether or not you increase your score, remind me and I'll go fix the board. I don't know why it's not playing. I have my volume on. Hold the... What?
Elevator.
Stop.
What did it say? Oh, like hold the mayonnaise. Oh, God. I did not think of that at all. We're just got to do better. All right. The factor theorem. The factor theorem says that when we have a polynomial f of x and it's divided by a factor. Okay, we know the answer to the next blank. When you're dividing and it's a factor, then the remainder is always equal to what? 0. Okay, when you're dividing and the remainder is equal to 0, then it's a factor. We know this. Okay, next round. Name something that might be on the rocks. Ah. I know there are other things.
It's really going well for us. Loss.
Good job.
That's amazing. I love.
Good job.
It was 12 years ago. Yeah, we're definitely.
All right, we're going to do our first example. So when we do these problems the exact same way that we did the problems last time, we have to check. Let me put it somewhere over there. Check. You got to check the terms. There could be missing terms. It has to be exactly the same, that you have to have place value for everything. And so double checking these terms, I have 3, 2, 1, and none. So that polynomial, this one's good. For this one, I have x squared, but I have nothing. I need a x to the 0 power, or else my terms aren't going to line up. So I'm missing plus 0x not squared, just x. Okay, plus 0x. So when I divide this, I'm going to set it up the same way. And the way that this works is that off to the side, we're going to do some side work. So off to the side, or if you need a scratch piece of paper or something, we're going to do work off to the side. And what we're going to be writing each time is this right there. So off to the side, and you'll usually have, because of the way that these problems are angled, they kind of look like a triangle. So we'll have a little bit of space right here that we can do it. Okay, so off to the side, I wrote this. So every time we do these problems, the only number we're looking at is the very first term. And all we're looking at is what would I have to multiply x squared by to make it look like 4x to the third. So right now I have a 1. So I need to multiply by a 4. So I know I have to multiply, and I'm going to put this number outside. 4. And then I have 2 x's, but I need 3. So it's going to have to be a 4x. So then I'm going to multiply that. So I'm going to multiply this in. So 4x times x squared, we get 4x to the third. So 4x times x squared is 4x to the third. What's anything times 0? 0, so I'm going to have 0 plus 0x squared. 4 times 1, anything times 1 is itself, so I'll have plus 4x. So every time we're going to start out with what we're dividing by, put it off to the side, and figure out what do we need to multiply it by so that we can make the very first term match. So as soon as you get it, you have two things. You have two numbers, and we're going to take the one that ends up on top and put it on the top, and the one that's on the bottom, we're going to put it on the bottom. So this is the top, and it goes, and it's going to write on the top, and it's going to line up. That's an X. So it's going to come up here, and it's going to line up with the X. We're going to take this, and we're going to line it up underneath here. So the top will go to the top, and the bottom will go underneath. I'm going to show you what I mean. So the 4x goes on top, and I'm going to use place value. And then down on the bottom, I'm going to line them up. I have 4x to the third plus 0x squared plus 4x. Do you remember how we have to subtract the next line every time? So when we do long division, every time we subtract the next line, well, we have to subtract every single thing in that line. So I am going to make sure that I circle my new symbol. So I subtract, I subtract, I subtract. The reason why I circle the one that I'm using is because this is where it gets really confusing. And so we want to make sure that the first term always cancels. If I have 4x cubed and I take away 4x cubed, I always end up with 0 for the first one. So now I have minus 7 minus 0. So it's going to stay negative 7x squared. Here I have negative 11 and I'm subtracting 4. So I end up with negative 15x. And then every time we bring down the next term. Yeah, we don't have any more terms, so this is the last time we have to do this. So off to the side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down what I'm starting with or what I'm dividing by. x squared plus 0x plus 1. And then I got to figure out, okay, well, I have x squared and I need negative 7x squared. Well, I already have the x squared part, so how do I turn it into negative 7x squared? What do I multiply by? Negative 7. And then I will multiply that in to figure out what I write down. So I get negative 7x squared plus 0x minus 7. And again, I have two things. So this is going to go on top, the negative 7, and it's going to be lined up with the constant. And then this is going to line up underneath. And then lined up underneath the bottom, I have minus 7x squared plus 0x minus 7. All right, before I can combine them, I have to subtract everything. So that has to change to a plus, minus, plus. So I have to change the signs. So 7 minus 7, that will cancel this first term. I have negative 15 minus 0, so it stays the same. And then I have 5 plus 7 is 12. I also know I'm done because can I do anything to x squared to make it just x? I can't multiply it by anything to make it just an x. You can't go down in degree. You can go up, but you can't go down, or you can stay the same. So when I write my result, isn't this my answer? Okay, then what is this? The remainder. So my answer is 4x minus 7 plus, always plus, always plus. Okay, your remainder is always plus. And then I've got the remainder divided by what I was originally dividing by. So what I was originally dividing by is this. Do I have to write the plus 0x? Nah. Is that a factor? No. And why? Because that remainder is not equal to 0. Okay, this uses the same directions as regular at long division. We're just doing it with a polynomial now. Okay, let's do our last round. Name a kind of fish you wouldn't want to see on your sushi roll. Think of ugly, gross fish. What? Is that how you spell it? I don't know. How do you spell it? Block like that? Very good. Is that how you spell it?
Fish, the one that looks like jellyfish. Oh, actually, electric eel. Oh, different types of eels.
Fast money round. Name a U.S. state where 100-degree temperatures are. Name something you carry on your back. If candy is colored red, tell me the flavor. Might be cherry. Name something that is really, really hairy. Monkey? Dog? Gorilla? Do we put animal? If your lover has a cold sore on their lip, where do you kiss them instead? That was a hard word for me.
No,
Ah! Oh, wow. Yay. Ah.
apart from Arizona, we got them all.
Well then.
I suppose some of these were like a little bit.
Okay, well, we didn't do better, but that's okay. We didn't do that bad. All right, we're going to do the next problem. And so for this one, we're going to practice doing long division, but you may or may not remember from last time because these notes I did in flip-flop order. So you would have had to do long division because it's the only way that I taught you how so far. But there's another type of division you could do with this type of problem. Does anybody know why? I think as you walk out, you can grab a tissue. My son's been getting lots of nosebleeds. The divisor is linear, so you could also do synthetic division with this problem. It works too. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do long division just so that we can practice the skill. Also, if we take a look back at the first problem that we did together, this one, the reason why we had we had to do this 2 times is because we started out with something to the 3rd degree. Sorry, we are dividing by something to the 2nd degree, and we have to get down to the 1. So it goes 3, 2, 1. So we had to do it 2 times. And so if we take a look at this problem, it's a 3rd degree, and we have to get down to the 1st degree. So we're going to do it 2 times as well. We got to check for missing terms. Looks like we're missing a few up here. We've got a 3, we're missing a 2. So we're missing an x squared term. And then we're also missing a constant. So I'm going to set up my long division problem just the same. X plus 3 divided into x to the 3rd plus 0x squared minus 9x plus 0. Off to the side, I will always start out with what I'm dividing by. So I have x plus 3, and I have to think of, if I have an x, what do I have to multiply to make it x to the 3rd? If I have x, what am I going to multiply here to make it x to the 3rd? X squared. Very good. So I'm going to multiply that in. So I get x to the 3rd, which is what I needed, plus 3x squared. Now I'm going to go and take that and line it up. So I've got the top goes written on the top and the bottom gets written at the bottom, but I'm going to line them up. So this has the place value of x squared. It has to go in this column. That's where I start writing it. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to line up x to the 3rd plus 3x squared. And then I have to subtract. Again, I circle it because it lets me know that I changed it. I've got to subtract both of these things. So if I have x to the 3rd, subtract x to the 3rd, that cancels. That's my goal every time. Here, I have nothing and I take away 3. So I have 3x squared. And then I'm going to bring down the next term. Minus 9x. Off to the side, I will always start with what I'm dividing by. And then I'm going to think, what do I have to multiply x by so that it becomes 3x squared? X, 3x. Very good. So when I distribute that in, I get 3x squared plus 9x. So I've got 2 things This top one is going to get written up at the top, lined up with the x term. So I get plus 3x. And then I'm going to line up the bottom, 3x squared plus 9x. And then I have to change the sign of everything. So I'm going to subtract and subtract. So 3 minus 3 makes 0. What's negative 9 minus 9? Nope. Negative 18. And then I'm going to bring down plus 0. Okay, what can I multiply x by so that it's negative 18x? Negative 18. So I get negative 18x, and then negative 18 times 3, what's that? Do what? I can't see who's saying it. All right, so we're going to go line that up. I have 18 that's going to line up on the top, negative 18. And then down at the bottom, I have negative 18x minus 54. I have to change the symbols. So 18 minus 18, or sorry, yes, 18 minus 18, 0. And then I end up with 54. What is 54? Remainder. So my answer is x squared plus 3x minus 18 plus, always plus 54 divided by x minus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So is x plus 3 a factor? No, because the remainder was not equal to 0. These problems are not difficult, but they do take time. Please take time right now and go do your homework. I just gave you plenty of time.